Thank you. Very good evening to every one of you. So glad you are all here this week too. I really appreciate your participation and putting these things together so we can meet every week and discuss very important parts from the Dhammapada. So today will be our third session. I have selected two verses today for us to study. Let me share you the Dhammapada verse that we are going to study today. This is Dhammapada verse number 172 and 173 from the chapter on the world. So let me chant these verses first and then we can discuss the meaning. Yo cha pubbe pamajjitvā pacchā so nappamajjati so imaṃ lokaṃ pabhāseti abbhā mutto'va candimā Yassa kataṃ kammaṃ kusalena pithīyati so imaṃ lokaṃ pabhāseti abbhā mutto'va candimā. He who once heedless, but later not heedless anymore, illuminates this world like the moon free from clouds. He who by good deeds covers or replaces the evil he has done, he illuminates this world like a moon freed from clouds. These two verses explains that any person who has been bad in his past, was not skillful or wise, but engaged in a lot of bad deeds and bad karma and had a bad behavior. But any such person still can correct his mistakes and change himself or herself, and then illuminates this world like a moon freed from the clouds. The first verse is saying that that anyone who was not wise, skillful, or wholesome, or not had a good life, but still has the possibility of changing himself or herself. And once that person changed from his bad behavior, and he's not different from other good people. He illuminates the world like a moon freed from the clouds. It says that like anyone's bad behavior, bad karma, whatever our wrongdoings in the past are like the cloud that will cover the moon. But we all have that inner potential to change ourselves, inner potential to correct our mistakes, and then illuminates the world like the moon. The second verse saying is that actually whatever bad karma that we have done in the past can be replaced or maybe can be mitigated by doing good deeds. He who by, the verse says, he who by good deeds covers or replaces evil he has done, illuminates this world like the moon freed from the clouds. It says that whatever bad karma that we have done is subject to change. So if we recognize those bad karma and then try to engage in a wholesome moral life by doing so many other good karma, we can actually mitigate the past bad karma. So such a person can also illuminate this world like the moon freed from the cloud. These two verses actually gives us such a great hope about humanity. And one way it helps ourselves to develop confidence. No matter how bad we have been in the past, maybe we have done some mistakes and wrongdoings, when we are not very knowledgeable, not wise. But that's okay, we can still move forward. And when you think about other people who have done so many bad things, had a bad life, but we still can keep hope, because they all have the possibility of overcoming from those bad behavior. So these two verses really helping developing kind of hope of ourselves and also the hope of others. Yeah, so therefore the main idea is actually the anytime we have the possibility or potential to change. I like this, simile, like uh, the the moon freed from the clouds. Of course, if you remember on a full moon day, if you have a cloudy sky, you will not see any light. It is dark. But the ones, the moon coming out from the clouds, it's such a beautiful view, and it suddenly illuminates, everything. When the moon is coming out from the cloud, it gives such a great illumination to the whole atmosphere everywhere. So the Buddha is saying that any bad person, any person with a lot of bad conduct, bad past, can actually come out from that, just like a moon can come out from the cloud. How nice is that image, and how nice to think about people in that way. Yeah, how nice to think about ourselves in that way. So I think with great compassion, the Buddha is giving us, encouragement and support, and helping us to keep hope of humanity, keep hope, of ourselves, and keep hope of any person. Okay, so that's the important meaning here. But today I would like to help you to understand a few Pali terms. Here, there is a term called pamajjitvā, but then that is a verb and noun of that pamajjitvā is pamāda. And Buddha says that if someone is heedless at the beginning, but then later become heedful, and then he will illuminate the world. So what do you mean by heedlessness is which means actually lack of interest in a spiritual practice, or lack of urgency in a spiritual practice, negligence, not having any concern or care for the Dhamma or any spiritual path. That is what we call heedlessness. And so Pali term is pamāda. And Buddha said that if someone has a pamāda, he is like a dead, although he's actually physically living. So the pamāda is an important term. I hope that I will encourage you to be familiar with these Pali terms, the important terms: pamāda, heedlessness, negligence, lack of interest in spiritual practice. The next one, which is the opposite of pamāda, and a quality that Buddha has appreciated so much and encourage all of us to develop, is called appamāda. It's the opposite of pamāda. Appamāda. That is heedfulness, diligence, and mainly the earnestness in a spiritual practice. When you truly hear the Dhamma, when you get some glimpses of the Dhamma, and when you develop, deep confidence and faith in the Buddha, and then you develop this earnestness to a spiritual practice, you develop this, ability to dedicate yourself for the spiritual practice, and that quality, willing to dedicate, willing to give your time, willing to, test the practice, and that earnestness, and also even like continuous practice, not dropping the practice from time to time, but maintaining the practice. And that quality is called heedfulness and diligence. But Buddha is saying that initially a person may be with pamāda, like lack of interest, have no interest in his spiritual growth, and no interest in listening to the Dhamma, no interest in joining a Buddhist group, or learning, or doing any wholesome activity. You just live only engage in pleasures, think that life is to to indulge. Maybe that is like if someone is having that kind of life. But later, that person, maybe through a good friend or meeting a good teacher, develop heedfulness or diligence. And that means he listens to them, becomes serious about life, and think about the preciousness of this human life, and the and value of this human life, if to practice the Dhamma, and then he becomes diligent, earnest, keep learning the Dhamma, listening to the Dhamma, and helping others, and following the precepts, and practicing meditation. And that means he's having appamada. I think for a lot of you who decided to learn the Dhammapada, you should have some level of appamada. Otherwise, you will not decide to dedicate your hour in the evening to learn the Dhamma. So you had some appamada. So that is so anyone can build that interest upon a help of a friend or a help of a teacher, and so that is what we call appamada. So anyone can have pamada initially, but we can develop appamada later. And once you develop appamada, you are like the shining moon. So the Pali term for moon is candimā. The term candimā is the Pali term for moon. So I think you may know some people with the name Candimā. Of course, these days I think you have Bhante Candimā. That is the Bhante Candimā also. The Candimā is the masculine form, and the Candimā is a feminine form of the moon. So really, it means moon, maybe smooth pleasantness of the moon. And the other important term is pāpa. Pāpa is a term that we use for bad, wicked, or wrongdoing. Sometimes pāpa is translated as sin, like sin, sin. But you know that in the Buddhist in Buddhist doctrine, there's no concept of sins as it is understood in English language or in Abrahamic Western religion. But pāpa definitely means wrongdoing, wicked or bad or unwholesome, even like bad karma. Pāpa, that's a bad. So the Buddha is saying that one can remove from pāpa. And the opposite of pāpa is punya. Punya is what we call merit in English, wholesome, good, righteous merit. The pāpa, what is opposite to pāpa is punya. But there's also two other terms that Buddha used, which has very important significance. In most cases, the Buddha used the term kusala to refer to good actions, wholesome actions. But the very term kusala has a meaning of skillfulness or cleverness or expertise. Which originally, the term kusala is used before the Buddha. The term kusala is used to refer to technical skillfulness. If someone is good in sewing, if someone is good in drumming, if someone is good in any craft, he's called kusala. So that was the original meaning of kusala. But the Buddha did actually. Buddha brought that term that was used in the technical meaning. He brought that to give a moral meaning, from technical meaning to moral meaning. And Buddha said that just like we can be good at or skillful in any craft, making something, doing any profession, we can be very skillful through training. Just like we can be good, expert, skillful in any craft, any profession, a human being can also become expert or skillful or good in one's own moral behavior, one's own moral qualities. And so Buddha, it is the Buddha who used term kusala to mean the good, but he saw that goodness comes through a training as a skill. So the kusala is skillful. So in most cases, instead of using bad or good, Buddha will use skillful and unskillful. If someone is doing bad deed, we can say that that person is unskillful, and that person has not developed the skill yet. He's he's still a victim to his own bad habits. He's still a victim to his own defilements. He has not developed skillfulness to overcome them. So there's a different way of looking at the world, looking at the people, looking at the activities. When you divide activities not as good or bad or right or wrong, but as skillful and unskillful. So when you say unskillful, so you also have the meaning that maybe later they can develop the skill and then become good, in their life. That's exactly what this, two verses is trying to help us. So other important meaning of kusala is conducive to nibbana. So any activity that is conducive to nibbana can be called kusala. Any activity that is not conducive to nibbana can be called akusala. Okay. Any questions so far? Are we okay? Is it clear? Okay. So I think this again, this verse, two verses are helping us to understand that we can correct our mistakes and move forward at any time. It's really saying that no one is doomed for eternity, and then our destiny is not fixed, and then any bad person can become a good person. So we should not judge people so much. Of course, there are bad behaviors, negative habits in anyone's life, but but any bad person can become a good person, like that moon can come out from the cloud. That's what the Buddha is teaching us. And the important thing is that bad karma can be mitigated. Our bad karma can be mitigated, maybe not completely removed, but can be mitigated. This is the message from the verse. So I think these two verses help us to have a discussion on karma or kamma. I think it's an important topic for all of us. I hope that maybe we can talk about it. And one other important thing is that when in this from this verse, two verses, we learn that any bad person can become a good. It shows us that actually how our personality, how our life is not fixed. Our personality, our characters, our qualities are not fixed. They can be changed. So I think you all have heard about the five aggregates, and that is how the Buddhism explains any of our any of us, any individual is explained in Buddhism in terms of five aggregates. Any living being, any human being is actually a combination of five different processes we call five aggregates. I think we all you should be familiar with these five aggregates. We call a physical form, rupa, sensations, what we call vedana, perceptions, sanya, volitional formations. That means our habits, our tendencies, our patterns of behavior, our dispositions, all are called volitional formations, sankhara, and consciousness, our ability to be aware of a sensory object. So any person is divided, explained by the Buddha in terms of these five aggregates. So we all have these five aggregates. So we have formed ourselves based on those five integrated aggregates. We all have a physical form. We all have sensations. We keep having sensations, feelings in our body and through our senses. And we have perceptions, means we have knowledge, memory, our concepts that we have formed about different people, different places and things. We have a whole storage of concepts. Those are the perceptions. And then we also have our habitual patterns, how we react, how we respond to any situation, and how we live our life is simply acting out of these habitual patterns. How we speak, how we behave, how we think are governed by these patterns, these habitual forms that we have created in the first place. Those are called volitional formations. And the karma is also part of the sankhara, part of the volitional formations, and we have consciousness. The important teaching here is actually none of these aggregates are permanent. They keep building up, or they keep reforming and changing. Our concepts can be reshaped and changed at any time based on our new experiences. Therefore, our whole personality, our whole being is in a constant change and move. That is what we call anicca, or impermanence, and also anatta, the non-self, because everything is changing inside of any person, individual. That is why any bad person can become a good person. So based on that, those teaching of the 5 aggregates. Okay. So part of sankhara, volitional formations, is the karma, and then our personalities, our some of our habitual patterns. But important thing is that our karma is not fixed; it's dynamic. Our past karma, they are open to reform, and we can perform new karma and form new habits. So the karma is not fixed or done. I think there was a question about the karma. I will address that soon. So this is the definition of the karma in the Buddhist teaching. So this is from the Buddhist Sutra in the Anguttara Nikaya. Buddha said that volition, I tell you, is kamma. Having willed, one does kamma by way of body, speech, and mind. And here, what the karma, the Buddhist term karma refers to the action. And usually, whenever we use the term karma, we think about the results of the karma. But actually, in the Buddhist teaching, the term karma, kamma or karma is in Pali and karma is in Sanskrit. And we use that term not to the result of the action, but actually the very action, the first action that we do. And there Buddha said that actually not simply the action that can be called karma, it is the volition, the underlying mental state of any action is what Buddha called karma. It's a psychological basis. There are 6 roots of volition. When we perform an action, our volition underneath our mind, whenever we help someone, whenever we blame someone, whenever we engage in any activity, there's an underlying volition in us. It could be either greed, hatred, or delusion, or it could be opposite, generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom, or any variation of these volitions. And based on that volition, and that the quality of the karma will be different, and then it will produce. It will create a possibility of bringing us similar kind of circumstances to us in future. So volition underneath any action can decide the quality of the action, whether it's a wholesome or unwholesome. So therefore, not the outward nature of the action will not decide whether it's wholesome or unwholesome. It is the volition, underlying mental state of the doer will decide whether that action is wholesome or unwholesome. Same way, it will also decide the gravity of the influence on mind and the gravity of the result. Because when we perform action, we can have different degrees of volition. We can have extreme compassion. You can have a very, mild level of compassion. You can have extreme form of anger. You can also perform actions based on very mild, level of anger. So based on the level of the volition, you will also decide the gravity of the impact that you are doing to your mind, and consequently, gravity of the result of that action. And so therefore, the karma should be understood like whenever we perform any volitional action, any willful action, not all action, any willful action, that action impacts our mind. It kind of leaves an imprint on the stream of our mind. So whenever we perform a willful action, even though action is done, there's an imprint, there's an impact that action has done to the stream of our mind. And that these are like imprints, imprints and also like maybe like seeds. Those karmic imprints that we are doing to our own mind while doing wholesome deeds, while doing unwholesome deeds, those karmic imprints return in our mind, and those karmic imprints will take some time to mature themselves. It will not come out suddenly. It will take some time for maturation. And those karmic imprints can attract certain people to our life, or can attract certain situations or conditions to our life. And sometimes we are drawn, to other people, or some people, we can, those karmic imprints can draw certain people and certain circumstances to our life. So the karma function more like an internal magnet, rather than, usually whenever we think about karma, people think that there's a record somewhere about all the good deeds and bad deeds that we have done. And, so based on the record, from outside, different situations will come to us. But actually, karma is not recorded anywhere outside of ourselves. It's simply the imprints that we are doing to our own mind. So we carry those seeds, those imprints. So those karma function more like a magnetic field, like an internal pull, rather than external force. So karma doesn't come to us outside; it's an internal pull, and like a magnet. A magnet can be charged either negatively or positively. So in the same way, our mind can be charged either positively or negatively. The karma is those charges, those imprints. So karma should be understood more like an internal pull, more like a magnet, a charge that we make to our mind. So then different things is attracted to our life. But this magnetic field can be changed, can be reformed, can be recharged. If you have a magnet that is charged negatively, you can make effort to make charge positively, something like that. So our internal karma can be, it's going to change anyway based on what we are doing, but we can also purposely change that internal pull that we have constructed. Karmic imprints can be changed, can be shaped. That is the Buddhist idea. So there are 4 types of karma based on that Buddha is giving in Anguttara Nikaya. There are black karma with black result, white karma with white result. These are similar to like good karma and bad karma. First one is bad karma, second one is good karma. But there's also third possibility that Buddha is saying in the sutta, both black and white karma with both black and white results. And some karma cannot be divided clearly and simply into black and white. Hence, they can have mixed result. Of course, when we engage in our life, some karma can be like a mix. So there's also a possibility of having mixed karma. And most important one is actually the last one, neither black nor white karma with neither black or white result. And we'll come to that later, because that is the kind of karma or maybe practice we do to overcome or transcend our karma. So how our karma and the result, there's a general relationship. Definitely our wholesome action can bring wholesome result, and unwholesome action can bring unwholesome result. Definitely there's a general relationship. But this is more little bit complex than that. Of a mixed action can bring mixed result, but other conditions also play a part in deciding the exact influence of the result. So the result of the karma is so conditional. It's open to so many other conditions. You cannot clearly predict what would be the result of a specific karma, because when it matures itself to give result, so many other conditions also influence exactly which kind of result that it will give. So it's like a seed. So seed has potential to give particular result, but it's just like the karma is like that. When you perform a good karma or bad karma, definitely that will leave a kind of seed in our mind, karmic imprint like a seed. But what kind of result that seed will give will depends on so many other conditions. Just like a seed has a potential to grow into a tree, but it has to have a right environment, and it will uh, and it should get other like light and other soil and water and other things to produce. If seed does not get appropriate environment, it is possible that a seed will not uh, you know produce a tree. Karma is just like that. So every seed will not become same kind of seed, same kind of tree. Based on the environment, based on the care that we are giving, it can become a bigger tree or a smaller tree or well-grown tree or half-grown tree. Karma is like that. What's really important in karma is actually not our bad karma, but actually the karma that the how we live our life afterwards. All our past karma that we have done in the past, when it comes to maturation uh, or germination, how we live our present life influence how those the past karma will come into fruition. So what's really important in Buddhist practice is not to worry about the past karma, actually, because past karma we cannot, past karma has already done, but changing our present karma, we can influence the power of the past karma. Either we can enhance the power of the good karma, or we can mitigate the power of bad karma by changing our present karma. So there are a number of ways that we can mitigate our bad karma in the past. One is called performing counterpart good karma to mitigate our past bad karma. This is one way to do it. Performing counterpart or opposite, good karma. That means in order to overcome uh, a result of a bad karma, we had to do opposite good karma. So that's what, in that verse, it says that, if we can replace, we can cover up the bad karma by doing good karma. So this is one method. That means that, let's say, I'm just thinking about, if you have hurt other beings, if you have injured other beings, and if you have maybe killed, other living beings due to unavoidable circumstances, and if you recognize that there is, this bad karma in me, what you can do actually, you can start, saving lives. You can start, helping the life. You can start taking care of the life. You can start taking care of the sick people, supporting sick people, taking care of them, and support sick, any sick person. Or so you do counterpart um, good activities in order to mitigate the past karma. The second method is actually called developing the four Brahma Viharas. Actually the Brahma Viharas. So this is an important concept. I would like to know how many people know the Brahma Vihara. Those people who know what are the Brahma Viharas, can you write in the chat box what are the Brahma Viharas? I think you all are, attending Dhamma talks. I think you should be able to know what are the Brahma Viharas. Brahma Vihara. There are four Brahma Viharas. Let's say I would like to see. Thank you. Yes, I think I'm getting the answers. I'm so happy. I mean, everyone knows even the Pali names of the Brahma Viharas. That's great. Yes. Thank you. So you all know the Brahma Viharas. And actually, the second method to mitigate the bad karma is actually practicing the Brahma Viharas, practicing metta, loving kindness, practicing karuna, compassion, practicing mudita, sympathetic joy, practicing upekkha, equanimity. And developing those Brahma Viharas is given by the Buddha as a way to minimize the effects of the bad karma. There's an interesting sutta called the Sutta on the salt, crystal salt. There Buddha is giving an example. If you put salt into a smaller container of water, it will impact the taste of the water. But if you put salt into a large body of water, that salt will not impact the overall quality of the large body of water. In the same way, Buddha said that someone who hasn't developed Brahma Viharas, and any small bad deed that person is doing can have a big impact on his mind. Because when you do not develop Brahma Viharas, your mind is narrow. It's like a small container of water. But if you practice Brahma Viharas, your mind become bigger. It's like a broad mind. It's expanded mind. And because Brahma Viharas are also called immeasurables, your mind become broader and wide, and just like a large body of water will not have a big impact upon having a few crystal of salt, and we will not be affected that much of our bad karma if we develop Brahma Viharas. So that is the second method. But the third one is actually going beyond the whole karma realm altogether. The practice in the Noble Eightfold Path, as the Buddha mentioned, that is the path to lead to cessation of suffering. This is the direct path to attain enlightenment, starting from right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, and then meditation, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. When you practice those methods, those are mind training practices. And you engage in training your mind, overcoming your defilements, and changing our habit to go to the defilements and removing the defilements. It's changing the operation of the mind. Noble Eightfold Path is a practice to train the mind to overcome defilements, and that path is seen by the Buddha as a practice that helps us to go beyond the realm of karma altogether. So Buddha says, this is a quote, from the sutta here. Let me what is karma? That is neither black nor white, neither black or white result, leading to the ending of karma. Right view, right soul, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. They actually, Buddha said that Noble Eightfold Path is a practice that leads to the ending of karma, transcending the karma altogether. So there are three possibilities that we can practice. Of course, initial one is performing the counterpart good activities. Next is developing Brahma Viharas, and the third is actually practicing meditation, practicing Noble Eightfold Path, and then transcend the karma altogether. A good example of transcend the karma altogether is the story of Angulimala. I think someone has mentioned in the chat Angulimala story, and actually that is the background story of this verse. The second verse that you read is given by the Buddha based on the incident of the Angulimala. I want to know how many people know the story of Angulimala. And if you know the story of Angulimala, please give us a thumbs up. If you know the story of Angulimala. If not, I want to know how many people know the story of Angulimala. Can you give a thumbs up in your screen so I will know how many people know the story? So because our group can be quite diverse. Okay. Looks like there are still some people who doesn't know the story of Angulimala. Okay, can I have a volunteer? I would like to hear from some of you, those who know the story of Angulimala. Can you help us? Who can actually briefly tell the story of Angulimala? Can I have a volunteer? Can I have a help? Who can help me? Who can tell me tell us the story of Angulimala briefly? Can I have a volunteer? Okay. Did I get a volunteer? I saw a hand raised. Can you raise your hand if you can help me to tell the story of Angulimala?
I can tell you the story of Angulimala.
Yeah.
My name is Sumati.
Okay, yeah, please, yeah. Can you briefly tell? Thank you for your help. Yes.
Okay, what I know about Angulimala is he was a murderer. He killed 999 people, and everybody was afraid of him, and they will run away whenever they see him. And King Kosala actually wanted to get Angulimala. He wanted to kill Angulimala. So Mala's mother heard about King Kosala going to kill Angulimala, and in the meantime, Angulimala actually was going to kill his own mother. He wanted just one more finger to tie on his mala. So one more finger to make 1,000 malas. So, and his mother actually was coming to look for him, to save him from being killed by King Kosala. And while she was, and the Buddha could actually see that Angulimala was going to create a very heinous crime when he kills his mother. So he comes in to save. He comes in to save Angulimala from killing his own mother, and that's when Angulimala meets the Buddha, and the Buddha will make Angulimala realize about his bad habits or bad behavior, and he will change Angulimala to become a saint. That's my version.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Samati, for your help. Exactly. Thank you very much. Yes, that's the story. So term Anguli means finger and Mala means garland, and that was a nickname that he got from the people, like a garland of finger. He's wearing the garland of finger. If someone would wonder why a person want to do that, and that's been a long story behind that. Basically he was misguided by his own teacher. He was a very good student, and was very skillful in learning the archery and all the martial arts. And he was a son of a royal counselor, but his teacher, due to some other slandering by other students, he suspected his student having an affair with his own wife. He really wanted to kill this his own student, but instead of killing directly, he gave him an assignment to test his skill. And being a very, very obedient student, he followed the command of the teacher and fulfilled this last assignment he was given. And so that is why he was going around and killing. So the teacher demanded him to give him a garland of fingers. And of course, and even though he was a kind of serial killer, what happened actually after he met the Buddha was able to help him to change his mind, and Buddha for the first time helped him to reflect his own mind. And he ran behind the Buddha, and Buddha was able to use his psychic powers to move himself faster than the Angulimala, and he shouted, "Stop the monk!" And then Buddha got the opportunity and said that I have stopped long ago. You haven't stopped yet. And that gave him time to think, what he's talking about. I'm already, here, but he's saying that Buddha has stopped long ago. I'm the one who hasn't stopped. And Buddha was able to guide him, look into his own mind and see the running nature of the mind, agitation, anxiety, and all the things happening in his mind. And of course, later Buddha brought him to the monastery and trained him. And of course, the latter part of the story is not well known, but actually that was a real important part, how he received the instruction from the Buddha and every day practiced the Brahma Viharas. That is what he did. He learned the Brahma Viharas from the Buddha and, loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, and equanimity. He kept practicing loving Brahma Viharas. And that's why he was able to mitigate his, karma. And of course, later he, practiced Noble Eightfold Path. And, later what became actually, he became such a compassionate monk. And so whenever he see any person is suffering, he really wanted to help. That is how when he saw a pregnant mother who is having difficulty in giving birth, he was so empathetic about it. He ran into the Buddha and said that, please, Venerable, I saw this mother. I really want to help her. How can I help her? So Buddha taught him a method to recite recite a Pali formula with the act of asseveration, satya kriya or satya kriya, and then that is how she was able to give a smooth birth. And even up to today, as monks, we follow that practice. So being from a serial killer, he was able to become a model of compassion, loving kindness. That is the possibility of change. So after that incident, Buddha said this gatha, this verse that we are learning today, how even a serial killer can become a saint and change his mind, and any person has that possibility of rehabilitation and change. Yes. Tom, do you have a question? I saw your hand raised.
Sorry, Bhante, I don't have a question.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I think Angulimala's story is a very rare story. You cannot expect in every serial killer to be like that. And of course, if there's a Buddha, that is possibility. But any bad person can definitely become, can change. Yes. Yes, Michelle, you have a question?
Bhante, I remember reading somewhere that Venerable Angulimala was also stones thrown at him by, I think, villagers or something, but he maintains calmness throughout the whole thing. Did he actually use wisdom, or he understood that he has to undergo through that because of certain misdeeds that he has conducted, and therefore he knew he just I don't understand, was it like more of upeka, or was it?
Yes.
What did he
thank you, Michelle. Exactly, I think you are correct. Exactly, and because of he was practicing this, he's still gradually reducing the impact of the bad karma. But whenever he go out to collect alms, any stone thrown by other people will attract him because he already has this bad karma, right? So and so any stones or any club, anything that people throw will come to him automatically. And every time when he come back from the alms round, Pindapata, he's bleeding. But Buddha encouraged him, Buddha guided him to train his mind. Even when he hit by a club, when he hit by a stone, in that moment of pain, don't develop any slight feeling of anger, and observe them, accept them with equanimity. And Buddha said that you could have more severe suffering, pain than this based on the karma that we have done. So accept them, endure them, endurance, patience. And so because of the guidance of the Buddha, he was really able to receive those minor results, minor effects of his bad karma, and absorb them and endure them all. And then he practiced in the Noble Eightfold Path, he was able to overcome his attachment to self And then once you renounce, once you overcome the sakkaya ditthi, once you overcome, your attachment to self, and you dissolve your individuality, so to speak, and you don't recognize yourself as any of the five aggregates. So then all the karma that he has done has no place to come back, because the enlightened person has dissolved the attachment to the person or to oneself. When you dissolve it, there's no epicenter for the karma to come. That's what happens when you practice Noble Eightfold Path. So when he became enlightened monk, while he was living that life, he will get some minor, effects. But when he's passed away, there's no individuality to continue. So there's no epicenter for the karmic forces to come.
Thank you, Bante.
Welcome. Yeah, I think TMH has asked a question. I think we have answered that question in our story of Angulimala. There's one more question. So bad karma of the past can be erased or forgiven by the good wholesome karma. It's not the term the Buddha used in this gatha is pithīyati. It has a meaning of replacing, or maybe even like kind of covering. So definitely, as I mentioned, bad karma is none other than the karmic imprints that we have left in our own stream of mind. Okay, it's over here, like karmic imprints, like like magnetic charges. And so whenever we do new karma, our new karma influences our existing karmic imprints. So if you have a lot of bad karmic imprints, you can definitely keep on, doing, wholesome karma. And by doing that, you are actually, changing the, overall quality of these karmic imprints. And I think we have given 3 methods to do that. There's one question about, is there a group karma? Is there collective karma? That's a good question. Of course, we can perform action as a group also. Like today, we all attend this class as a group. When you do an action as a group, definitely we do an action as a group. But the karma by nature is based on volition. So although we perform an action as a group, what kind of karmic imprints that we are leaving in our consciousness will be different from person to person. But we can be connected as a group because we do it as a group. But it's still there's individual variations of the karma that we produce based on our involvement. You may do a whole good activity, wholesome, meritorious this as a group, but some people may be 100% involved. Some people may be 50% involved. Some people may be 20% involved. How much involved we are in that wholesome good activity will decide how much good karma will decide. But sometimes when this karma matures itself, it can affect the whole group. We have some stories, how people perform a good deed as a group, we receive the result as a group. When you perform a bad deed as a group, you will receive the bad result as a group also. But individual nature of the karma is emphasized in the Buddhist teaching. Okay, I'm going to show you this one. I would like to do a little bit, mental exercise, or maybe think about this. So, if someone has done this bad karma, like hurting, injuring, or killing, stealing, lying, or slandering, for each bad karma, what would be the opposite, alternate good karma? Can you think about that? Can someone tell me what would be the opposite good karma we can do to mitigate the bad karma of hurting or injuring? If you have hurt and injured living beings previously, what we can do to mitigate that bad karma? Any suggestion?
Bante, can I answer that?
Yes.
Okay, hurting, injuring, we can actually practice loving kindness, compassion.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, compassion. But if you,
And then killing, also we can practice compassion, having loving kindness, and then stealing, we can actually practice truthfulness.
oh, that will be for the lying.
For lying.
Opposite of stealing. What will be the opposite of steal?
Will be giving. That means
Giving. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
yeah, that means you are generous. You are generous. You practice generosity.
Yes. So lying
And-
can be, of course, being truthful and slandering. If let's say we have slanders before, we have, created disharmony in the family, disharmony among friends. We did it, when we are not really fully aware of the consequences. But now I realize that I have slandered before. In order to mitigate that karma, what we can do?
here, actually, we can also practice loving kindness.
Yeah, definitely, sister. Yeah, the underlying quality of all these things is loving kindness. Yes, definitely, compassion and loving kindness. That is true. But when you think about a specific action that we can do, like when you come to hurting and injuring, yes, practicing compassion, but exactly what we can do, what kind of activities we can do in a way to like express the compassion. Like if we have like a hurt for the hurting and injuries that we have done earlier, maybe what we can do right now, maybe we can go out and help the sick people. We can help the sick animals. We can help the injured animals and try to like heal them, try to protect them. So like I think there in the chat there's a good answer also for that. Like helping the sick will be way to overcome the bad karma of hurt, injuring. Killing, maybe if we have killed living beings, one good karma to mitigate that will be saving life. You go to butcher house and save animals. The animals who are about to be killed. We somehow make effort to save their life and release them. To give them life. And of course, as you mentioned, in stealing, in order to overcome the bad karma stealing, we maybe be generous and giving, and the being truthful will be lying, and for the lying and slandering, we maybe what we can do as to mitigate that karma will be purposely try to create peace and harmony among people by using our speech, and be really, really mindful in our speech and making a purposeful effort to bring harmony to a group, bring harmony to a family. You can do a little bit extra work to do that as a way of mitigating your previous bad karma. So use your speech to bring more harmony, more peace into a family and colleagues. So those are the just example of thing. And as definitely practicing Brahma Viharas is a way to definitely overcome everything. But I was just thinking about specific activities that we can do to overcome specific bad karma. Thank you, sister. Yeah. Okay. There are good answers in the chat books. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Okay, I'm so glad that we had a good discussion, and we have learned very two important two verses from the Buddha, helping us to keep hope of ourselves and other people. Yes, I see a hand raised, Brother Tham.
Yes, Bante. My question is karma transferable or can be inherited, for example, from parents, whether bad or good karma?
The second question, karma is actually the imprints that we are making in the stream of our mind, not in our body. What we can inherit from our parents is our genetic makeup, which is the body, and maybe some brain functions. But I think karma is quite individual. You will not inherit karma from our parents, but you will inherit so many other things from your parents. Like your habits, sometimes your habits also from your parents. So there's a big influence we get from our parents, but not specifically the karma. Your question is, can karma be transferable? Yeah, brother, we do this practice called sharing merits. Of course, we will do it right now also. Actually, real way to, there's no, is because this karma is like a imprints, psychological imprints we, live in our consciousness. It's not something we can transfer to another, but we can invite others to rejoice or mentally be part of any good activity. So we can perform a good karma either by doing the activity by ourselves or by wholeheartedly rejoicing someone else's good activity. Let's say you inform your family members, your friends that I did a dana today. This is how I offer the dana, or I helped an innocent person today. You described how did you help that. If the person who's listening to you fully appreciate that and purify his own heart by listening to the good activity you did and approves it and wholeheartedly appreciate and say sadhu in mind or verbally, and that person generate karma for himself right at that moment by rejoicing the good deeds, because rejoicing, approving others' good deeds, also a good karma. That's the only way we can transfer. It's not really a transferring, actually it's a sharing the merits. Yeah. So karma in principle cannot be transferable, but still we can invite others to rejoice. Even when you do a bad deed, if you explain to your friend, I really, hurt that person, I taught him a good lesson. If your friends really approves it, rejoice and cynically happy about it, they produce bad karma right there for themselves. That is why listening to the news of wars is real dangerous sometimes. And if you really be happy, oh, this many people have been killed, so good, so those terrorists are killed finally. If you have the cynical happiness and you are producing bad karma for yourself right there, it's not really direct transference, but actually sharing the good or bad, karma. Welcome. Okay, so nice to have you all in this evening. It's morning for me, and these days, my master from Sri Lanka has arrived in Pittsburgh because we are getting ready for our katina ceremony on this Sunday. Going to be a big ceremony. I'm so glad that my two masters are here with me, and it's such a great blessing. So we are getting ready for the katina ceremony. I hope that you are also attending so many other katina ceremony. So I wish you a happy katina season. May be able to help and may be able to generate a lot of good karma during this time. And wishing you all a great katina season.